Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I have my friend Austin from Iowa. How you doing, buddy?
Hey Jerry, how are you doing?
Good. It's good to meet another early bird.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
rare.
no, this worked out well.
Yeah, it's 8 in the morning my time, 7 o'clock your time. So this is great. Great way to start the day. So anyway, we'll start off with how you became a fan, how long you've been a fan.
Yeah, so I became a fan in 2011. I'm late to the party, I know. So before that, my dad introduced me to 80s hair metal, everyone from Rat to White Snake to
Yeah.
Dokken, you name
Oh,
it.
hair bands.
Yeah. And well, technically, my first show was I was in fourth grade. I saw the American Idiot tour with Green Day, but didn't really get into music until middle school with those bands. And it was more of I loved the sound, like Talk Dirty to Me and those types of songs. There was a sound to them, um, but that was pretty much it. And Bon Jovi was here in Des Moines for the Greatest Hits slash Circle tour, and I knew of Prayer and Bad Name and some of the other big hits, and my dad asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I could probably touch the top of the arena. We were that far up, and I just remember the lights going down, and on that tour, those screens that came together, and then John would walk on them throughout the show, etc. And it was almost like a trance. Like as soon as Tico's, counted in Lost Highway, I was like just sold. And basically after that show, I tried to get my hands on anything I could. So I can see that movie poster in the background. Like I bought that DVD, and just replayed it over and over again and started to listen to more songs. And what was different about Bon Jovi was there was content, there was meaning to the lyrics, and obviously John and Richie's chemistry and obviously the band itself. That's what just made me, you know, move towards them. Rather, not that I don't like
Oh yeah.
those other bands, but that was just the difference, um, that made me a fan. And just as I just grew into it and tried to start listening to as much as I could. And as we were discussing, the Circle is special to me just because that was the first
What a
record.
coincidence. What a
Yeah,
coincidence.
the
I,
first
I
record that I
out of all 100 Bon Jovi shirts I
yeah
have, 200 shirts I have, I put on the circle. So
yeah
we'll talk
what a
about
coincidence. But
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
I everything from obviously Love's the Only Rule, Superman Tonight, When We Were Beautiful. We can go on and on, but that, and then also the documentary that went with that, the When We Were Beautiful documentary, that was my introduction to the band, and just again the depth of songs, and then just getting into again as many songs as I could, and then I've been a big fan basically ever since.
Yeah. That's a great way to start becoming a fan because there's a lot of fans who became a fan during the Circle era, or especially the 2011 tour. And 2000, I'll always say this: the Circle tour, the 2011 tour, which were kind of hand in hand, had the best set list the band has ever done on any tour.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a little bit, but especially that. Well, I mean, I was gonna say that European leg. I mean, those shows were incredible, but also, I mean, just you know, there were so many shows. But yeah, those set lists were obviously a lot longer than they are now. But it was different every night, and everything
Yep.
from any other day to I Believe to
hmm
everything in between.
And that was what was so great. I think, not to brag here, but I think I went to a total of 10 shows on that tour, 12, something like, I think it was 10.
Yeah,
And like you said, it was always a different show. What I really loved about that tour, and I guess we'll talk about this for a little bit. What I really loved about the 2011, or even the Circle tour, both tours, was the beginning. The video screens, when the curtains, the screens come down, and then you see the boom, 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 and the
I think
band.
that's the coolest intro.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden at the end it goes, pew, and then it has the whole band standing there, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden the band starts to play, screens come up, and then John comes flying up the stairs. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was, there was something else I wanted to say. Well, I forget now. But even the European tour was really. Now, I wish I would have went on the European tour. I only did the States,
Yeah.
but I wish I had done over because overseas shows were in Hyde Park in 2011.
I listen to that all the time when I work out, or even the Barcelona show or the final show in Lisbon.
Australia was no, I'm thinking of Australia in 2013.
Yep.
But they were in Australia in 2010.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. And there was a couple of bumps along the road on that tour too. Richie going to rehab.
Well, that was about 10 days before the Des Moines show. So
Yeah.
I have yet to see Richie Sambora.
Oh man.
Which, is unfortunate, but
so I saw a few shows with Richie on that tour, and then obviously with Phil, both great. But I'll tell you, I remember when it was announced that Richie wasn't going to be at some of the upcoming shows, and I remember, this is before Facebook. Maybe I was on Facebook, was just starting out, but I remember MySpace and the Backstage with John Bon Jovi Fan Club on the forums. We were all like worried about, there was rumors circulating, oh my gosh, the tour is going to get canceled or the next. And I think I had some shows that May, because they were doing a few shows in May before going overseas. And this was in April when Richie was going into rehab, and everyone was like freaking out. Oh my gosh, the show's going to get canceled, blah, blah, blah. And then there was also rumors that they were finding someone else to temporarily play. And there was rumors that Bobby was just going to take Richie's parts and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Well, we all know the story, Phil X. So I remember the first show that Phil X did was Jazz Fest.
Yeah, New Orleans, right?
New Orleans, yeah.
Yep.
And I remember it was also being live streamed because of the festival. It was already planned to be live streamed, not live streamed because Phil, but because it was they did like tons of live streams on that tour, which was great. But anyway, I remember all the fans, and I remember having one tab open for the live stream, another tab open for the forums, because we were all just kind of communicating about, nervous about this new Phil guy, and
yeah.
But it was, Phil just blew me away. It was amazing. At that time he knew he was there just for 10 shows, get on, have fun, and so forth. And Phil has said this in interviews now. So what's interesting is that there was problems with Richie before all this. So Phil kind of knew the parts and was just kind of on standby mode. Could have gone, could have not gone. But if something happened to Richie on this tour, Phil was there to step in. But at this time, we didn't know that. We didn't know any of that. So that's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, and we could obviously talk about this for a really long time, but Phil X, what a story.
Yeah.
And to basically, the hired gun, if you will.
Yep.
But to get a call from John saying, I need you, learn these songs in a certain amount of time, and then obviously now being a member of the band, it's been quite a journey to watch and to experience.
Well, that was the thing, and I think this was April 2011. So I think Phil actually got the call and learned a lot of these songs the summer before, so summer 2010.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so I had to learn these songs, but and he obviously got paid to do that, but there was a stipulation if he may not end up going. So that there tells you that Rich was already having problems.
Yeah.
Was still on touring, but then obviously he got caught in 2011. But yeah, and then we know the story. Phil did the 10 shows, Richie came back, and then Richie left permanently in 2013, and Phil's been a member since.
Well, and that was the other thing. So, but because when they came to Des Moines in 2013, I think it wasn't the Cleveland show, but it was one of the other shows after that. Des Moines was like the next week, and Richie didn't show in between that time. Yeah. So again, I was anticipating Richie, and then so
maybe you're the bad luck charm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. But I was gonna say something else to that. But Phil adds a really good energy to the band. I think the band needed a new refreshment. It needed a new sound and a new era of the band. I always loved what Richie was in the band, and I always loved what Phil is in the band. Now, the two different eras of the band, and I appreciate both. But I want to go back to the 2011 tour because there's so many incredible moments. So not only that happened with Richie, but also John hurt his leg. So
yep. Yep.
Rewind a little bit to the Circle tour in 2010. It was at one of the New Meadowlands shows, and John had torn, I don't remember the name of the ligament muscle, but he torn it during Glad All Over, and still did. I think they went right into prayer because it hurt so bad, but everything seemed to be okay then. And then fast forward to which show was it? I'm drawing a blank. Helsinki.
Yeah.
In 2011, and during Love Is the Only Role, and really tore it. And then luckily, I think it was right before the Dublin shows. I remember they had like a week off.
Yeah, because he went to I think he got surgery in Dublin. Like.
Yeah. Okay. And I remember all of us, we were like worried the next upcoming shows were going to get canceled. I wasn't too worried about it because they were all overseas shows. Like, I'm not doing any overseas shows. But I felt so bad for all my overseas friends that were going to see them. But yeah, everyone was so, oh my gosh, if Richie didn't make the shows get canceled, this is going to cancel the shows. And because there was rumors, and people were, doctors and are Googling. And they're like, oh, you have to rest for 6 months after this surgery and stuff. And John still, John wore the brace and still.
Yep.
What was cool was wearing him doing the cane.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah.
Those shows, and I remember, I forget which show, but during Keep the Faith, instead of the maracas, he used the cane.
Yeah.
Short on the
There's
mic.
the showman for you.
Yeah, but that was really a great tour, and obviously everyone was really excited to see Richie come back for the overseas shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a great. Yeah, I would say Hyde Park of Barcelona was probably the best shows of that tour.
Yeah.
The shows that I did quite a few, but I would say my favorite show on that tour was Pittsburgh.
Okay.
In February of 2011, because the only time they ever did it live, This Is Love, This Is Life.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen that on YouTube, so I know. Yep.
The only time they have ever done that song live, it was in Pittsburgh. So that was pretty cool. And they opened up with Just Order.
Yeah.
And that was a great, going back to, the different set lists and different openers. That's what I loved, was this is the anticipation of the show just about to start. You don't know what song. Unfortunately, with the last two tours, it's been kind of predictable what the next song is going to be. And obviously, fans like you and me, we know John's, if it's Take Me to the Sea, it's Bad Name. If it's Let's Blow the Roof Off This Joint, it's My Life. And then if it's 2, 3, 4, we know it's Born to Be, and Doctor in the House, I could go on.
Yeah.
But, so let's take it to our next topic. We wanted to talk about This House Is Not for Sale tour and the Wembley shows.
But the album itself, and I think John and maybe some of the other members describe it as a comeback album. Just like
I think for the new era of, not like they were gone, but just like the new era of the band. We had Burning Bridge, but that was just like a compilation fulfillment.
Yeah, like songs in a paper bag and all that. But because obviously you and I both know, and everyone probably listening, that period between the end of Because We Can tour to This House, it was pretty dark, pretty just, you didn't know what the band was going to do.
Yep.
So the album itself was important for me just because the songs that I related to, and songs like God Bless This Mess and Living with the Ghost told us that the band's okay without Richie, John's okay, everything's good. But seeing those shows here stateside was fantastic, and obviously with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction and getting the band back together for that. And I love the song When We Were Us. I adore that song.
I want to back up just real quick.
Yeah.
So let's start with the beginning of This House, and we'll get to that, obviously.
Yeah.
But when it was, so like you said, after the What About Now tour, after those Australia shows, nobody knew what was happening. And then the whole Burning Bridges came out, and then learned about the contract fulfillment. And they're like, okay, if they're done with this record company, is John going to even bother to continue? And then it was shortly after that, it was at a Runaway trip, I believe. And he had mentioned that he was starting to write a new album and that Phil was going to be the guitarist and so forth. So that was, I would say summer of 2015. It was shortly after Burning Witches was out because everyone was in question of what was happening with the band.
Yeah, and I think I saw a video of that, and because I thought he said something like the album's called "This House Is Not for Sale," and I'm not going to play it because of cameras and videos. And I thought to myself, what a goofy sounding title. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, it's an awesome that represents where the band is and where they're going. So it made sense when we heard it, but at that time I was just like,
yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either because I remember he was also selling one of his apartments back then.
Oh.
Too. I mean, that was that joke. But I thought it was a great album. And what's funny about the best songs on that album were actually, I don't want to say outtakes, but they were bonus tracks on certain editions. I Would Drive You Home, Color Me In. Good Night New York, When We Were Us and Walls was later recorded after the fact, after the album was already out for 2018 tour. Which one am I forgetting? I'll Drive You Home, Color Me In, Good Night New York, and there's Touch of Grey. That's it, Touch of Grey. And I think those are the best songs on the album, along with Real Love and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I do. Real Love is just so, it's just a classic, just, Bon Jovi love song, if you will. I think it's just so pure.
And you know what song had to grow on me? And I don't know if you ever have one of those. You ever have one of those songs that you don't really like when you first get the album, and then you see it live, and you're like, A, it grows on you, or B, you still don't care for it, but then later on you love the song. That's what happened for me with Knockout. I did not see the appeal with Knockout, especially beginning of the tour. And after the tour was over, I was like, you know what? I really love Knockout now. And I put on my workouts. I love it. And I was hoping that we'd see that again on this tour. And no. And it's funny because I saw Knockout live like 10 times and I've never enjoyed it live. But now I wish I had,
Well, that's the same with, for me, that's the same with Story of Love. And when I first heard it, I was just like, but then it started to make more sense as the concept of the 2020 album became a thing. And then, just knowing how much John liked it and just listening to it more and more. And like you've talked about before, and not to jump to the last tour, but I was surprised it wasn't played more, but that's definitely a song that's grown on me with what you're referring to.
Not to brag, but I got to see that in
in Milwaukee, right?
What's that?
Was it Milwaukee, right? That show, or
it was Raleigh? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only time that it got played live, I think I did see it on the Runaway trip last June.
Oh, okay.
I think he did it. I think he did that and Do What You Can, and American Reckoning at the Runaway trip last year. But to see the band, and I'll give credit where it's due. Shanks did amazing on that guitar solo too. But let's jump back to This House Is Not for Sale. And then I interrupted you earlier about the rock hall, so I'll let you continue your.
I think I speak for everyone because it was, is Richie going to come back? Is Alec going to be there? What's the dynamic going to be like? And I think for the longest time, and John and those guys, they don't really care about these accolades and all these awards.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see, as you say as well, like my band being recognized in such a way. And then to have everyone on stage for those 3 or 4 songs. And, like I said, When We Were Us is, I think, such a great summary of what maybe John and Richie used to be or what the band used to be. Yeah. It was just a great night.
Yeah. And what I really liked about, so, let me back up and we'll get into the performance. I remember when it was first announced that they were nominated to get inducted, and I think they were first nominated back in 2003, I think.
Yeah, that sounds a long time ago.
But obviously, I won't get into it. But they didn't get inducted. But and then it was in 2017, I think it was they were nominated. So I remember, and thank God for the power of social media. I remember myself and so many other diehard fans. We were voting every day. We were creating new accounts to vote for them, tweeting, you know, posting, sharing, and I mean, I was posting it was nonstop, you know, and I was so happy that they had got inducted, you know, or it was announced that they had won and they were going to be inducted in the class of 2018. So, like you said a little bit ago, that's when fans were like, okay, is Richie and Alec going to come back? And it was very quick. Because I remember John was on Howard Stern, you know, announcing that Howard was going to induct them. And in other interviews, I remember John was very quick to say, yeah, Richie and Alec have been invited. And then days later, it was announced that Alec and Richie were both going to be there. And and so then the next question was among fans was what songs are they going to play? Because and there was also a question too if they were going to perform because you know Kiss refused to perform
Yep.
because they wanted Peter and Ace to um, perform with them, and that's not what Kiss was then. Kiss was Tommy and
Yeah.
Eric, so they refused to play. But I figured the band would play, so the idea was what songs are they going to play because there's so many massive hits. Definitely Prayer, Bad Name, It's My Life. Which It's My Life. I don't think I played. The only ones I got. What was it? Bad Name, Prayer, When We Were Us. Was it just those three?
Maybe It's My Life. I don't know.
I
It
don't
was,
think.
yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But
if it was fourth one, it was definitely It's My Life. But When We Were Us, I was surprised Scott performed because I thought they would have done
I was
one.
too.
But what I will say though, with seeing Richie and Alec back on stage, it was nice to see them. Well, Alec wasn't on there. Alec was only on stage for "Living on a Prayer," but Richie was on stage for all the songs, and it was kind of nice because "When We Were Us" is about what the band was leading into now, and so it was kind of interesting to see a song that was written and recorded by the current lineup of Bon Jovi, no Richie, but seeing Richie play guitar and sing along to that. You know, when John and Richie are both singing on the same mic when we were
Yeah,
us.
that was cool. It was very special.
Yeah. So in seeing where Alec, you know, Alec being gone now, you know, you kind of look, you know, I remember watching that Rock Hall a few weeks ago and just tears in my eyes thinking, oh my God, this is the last time Alec was with the band. And you know,
Yeah.
see back then, you know, he was going, you know, I remember him carrying a pouch and oxygen and he was on a, you know, leaning up against the, you know, playing Living on Prayer. Um, but yeah, you know, like we both kind of said, it was just nice to see our band. Yeah, I think the whole rock hall is a joke. I really do. But at
Yeah, yeah.
the same time, too, it's nice to see our band get recognition.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It was super nice too. Is obviously they did another leg in North America, or at least the United States after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like
you know,
it's
so
kind of like a. And you know what makes me? I'm sorry to interrupt you. You know what makes me
I don't
mad?
know.
Um, that I was so looking forward to seeing when we were us live. Or
I saw it.
Wallace never. Yeah, rub it in my face. I went to like, I'm not kidding you. I think I went to like 6 shows on just that year,
Yep.
and we were us never got. And you know what's funny? It's I forget the tour toward the city. So just say I went to see them in Allentown, and then the next night they'd be in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, they did when we
Yeah.
were. If I went to Pittsburgh, they didn't do it. But then the next night at Cleveland, they did. You know,
Yeah.
so that's what they did in those times, just throwing out cities there.
Yeah.
So
No, I
that's what made me
I took
mad.
my buddy to this Chicago show,
Yeah.
and so I was hyping up this song, and like I was, getting him up to speed with everything, and then John starts talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm like thinking to myself, are they going to play this? And they went into it, and as when you hear a song you want to hear, I was freaking out,
Yeah.
and it was really cool. But then I remember, 2 nights later, I went and seen them in St. Paul, and Blood on Blood is my favorite song, and I had not heard that live before. So this is what, show 7 or 8, and that tour, the encore was like, one song we didn't know, and then typically like Wanted and Prayer.
Yeah.
So they started doing I'll Be There For You in the encore, and I was like, dang it, like, no Blood on Blood,
Yeah.
And then so I'm just expecting Wanted after that, but they went into Blood on Blood. So they did an extra song for some reason, and again, I was like hyperventilating.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, you have to calm down, like these people probably think you're crazy.
No, that's okay. There's
But
me,
that,
and millions of
yeah,
others.
that was just, I'll never forget that moment. That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how you feel, because when you see one of your favorite songs live, it takes you to another dimension, like you forget you're around thousands of other people, and you're just hearing your favorite song by your favorite band live, it's magical. Um, so two more things, we'll talk about this house tours, some of the set list, and then I want to talk about Wembley. But we'll go.
Yes.
So as we were talking about, the whole band's career, set lists were always different, surprises, and this house is when we've really started to see the same show every night. And what kind of made me sad was, as a diehard fan, I had wanted to see the new songs live, and I remember there was Cleveland's a perfect example. There was a block of new stuff. I think New Year's Day, Scars, and so forth.
Yep.
And John had to kind of compromise with the crowd, because that entire first half of the show, fans were ecstatic, crazy, happy, and then all of a sudden he goes into new songs. Like you could tell who the diehard fans were, because we were up singing along to the new songs,
Yeah.
and the general fans were just kind of sitting there and waiting for the hits to come back. And I remember at one point, right when they were, in between the new songs, John was like, "Okay, let me give you two more." And then right when they were going to lay your hands on me, okay, nothing now, nothing more but the hits. And it was just the rest of the hits for it. But like, I was like, that's the problem with America. America wants the hits, nothing else. And I understand that, because if I go see another band, I want to see the songs that I know. But with me being a diehard Bon Jovi fan, I want the deep stuff. I don't care if the hits weren't played on that show. I want the deep stuff,
Well, and not that it frustrates me, but yeah, I'll go to shows, and, one of the shows that, we just went to, some guy's screaming in my ear, "In and Out of Love, In and Out of Love." And I'm like, dude, they haven't played that in who knows how long. And it's like, this band, they tour on a album.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't go out. So, and I agree, like, I want to hear the new stuff, but
Yeah.
I understand John has a pretty hard task to
Oh
figure
yeah.
out balance. But, it's annoying when people are just, they just want bad name, bad name, bad name,
Yeah.
and it's like, that will be played, don't worry. Like, but like,
And it's funny you say that, because like even general fans know that's going to get played, but it's funny because I'll go to a show once in a while, and you'll see fans with signs, and I saw a fan like in the front row, I think this house tour, and she held up a sign saying, "Please play Bad Name."
oh
I'm thinking,
gosh,
I'm thinking in my head, honey,
that's a waste of paper.
that's gonna be the second or third song. So,
Yeah, yeah,
if you're gonna bring a sign, throw in a deep track. Don't put Bad Name on
yeah.
that piece of
Yeah,
paper.
I brought a sign to one show back on the Because We Can tour, and one side said "Blood on Blood," the other side said "Always," something like
Those
that,
are
rather
cool.
than.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny. Like, honey,
yeah,
they're
well,
gonna
even like
play that here.
in the 2022 shows, they just got done playing "Do What You Can," and the lady next to me is like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "This
Yeah,
song we've been listening through the whole pandemic, and
yeah,
it's been pretty well known." But
yeah. They don't, and I saw the same thing on this tour too. The acoustic set was a wasted opportunity, because when
yeah, and I've
you
heard your opinion on that, and I agree. It was pretty. I don't know. We could obviously go way into that, but to save
yeah,
time.
yeah. But you know, I remember people saying, "What's the only song that people really because they did the same ones every night, don't they? American Reckoning,
Yep.
Saturday Night. They got some people off with their seats, but the new song people just sat down because they didn't know it. And no fault to the band. I mean, I was up, I was singing along, I was happy to see those songs, but the general fans
Yeah.
didn't know them. And I think what the problem is it's not the band's fault. If you look at a lot of the bands from the 80s, Motley Crue, Poison, Kiss, Cinderella, all those rock bands from their era, those bands are still touring now, but they're playing their 80s songs. They're not
Yeah, and
playing.
they're not touring on new stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And so the Def Leppard's having the same problem right now. Def Leppard used to do that, but right now on the stadium tour, Def Leppard's actually putting out some new songs, and I see people complaining like, I don't want to hear the new stuff. I don't want to hear the old stuff. I'm like,
well, yeah, it's funny that you say that because I've been checking the set list because usually Def Leppard keeps it pretty similar, but
yeah,
they took out at least one new song for, I think Promises or one of their more
oh,
known. So,
yeah,
which is I get it, but it's like when you've been doing it for 40 years,
yeah,
like you have to do a give and take a little bit, but.
yeah. Just be, that's the thing. Now, if you go overseas, fans love the deeper stuff and they'll know this. But here in America, it's just about the hits.
What did
So,
John's always said? Americans know the chorus, and Europeans know the lyrics or the full song or something like that.
yep, exactly. And like John's old joke, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Yeah, yeah,
But our
yeah,
last topic that we both wanted to talk about was Wembley Stadium. Now,
yeah.
I know
Um,
you went to it, and so let's back. So they've been there quite a few times. The most historic time that they were in Wembley was in 1995. And if I could go back in time and see any show, the Wembley shows would be the 95 shows would be at those 3 nights.
yep.
Man, those were incredible. And then I think in 2000 they were supposed to open the new Wembley Stadium, but then things got delayed and they ended up playing at I'm drawing a blank on the name. They went to another stadium and played there. But so
Yeah,
you went during this house tour,
I
right?
did. So